Wonderful. Oh, well, first off, welcome everyone, and I'm Debbie Harova. I'm the District 73 Northern Division Director and VPE of Geelong Toastmasters. Now, for those of you who do know me, if you think I'm not my normal vibrant, bubbly self, don't panic. I did have a little small minor procedure done the other day, so I just still have a little bit of pain. So every now and again, I'll just be taking it easy. I'm not going to be doing somersaults tonight. Not that I usually do somersaults on the screen. Embedding pathways into your success plan. Well, it can be a very daunting or exciting experience depending on who you are, what you are, and your club. So first off, can I have a few hands up if you're excited by the process of putting pathways into your success plan? There's a few yeses. And is there anyone who might be a little bit timid about it, a little bit daunted? That's fair enough too, because it is scary, because, well, we feel your pain. June 2020 is not far away. We have members who are still in legacy and some who are transitioning. And that period can be a little bit crazy. And our goal for June 2020 is to have a 100% adoption rate into pathways to make your success. The first steps you've taken, you're attending this Zoom session, so congratulations to that. And I'd also like to congratulate anyone who's on their executive, and most of you are, because, and I'm sure the one thing, if you have had an executive meeting already this month, you've discussed what is first and foremost in amongst everything, and that's the member. So remember, the member must come first. Everyone has their goals, everyone has their own individual objectives, but it is always going to be the member that needs to take top priority in amongst that. Now, when you're looking at the D73 Team Pathways little banner there, that actually reflects the member comes first, because the little quote on the sidebar from John Welch, which totally to me embodies the Toastmasters philosophy and that of Pathways as well, is that before you're a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is about growing others. And that's what Pathways is. And that's what we need to put into our success plan, is the growth, how that we can make everyone succeed, thrive and grow within that environment. So we have a new year. We're 1 month in, exactly, almost 1 month in. And if you haven't already looked at the success plan, you will be in the next month. And with that success plan, it gives you the opportunity to lay a very strong foundation for your club. As I said, to help it grow, to help it thrive, and for it to be successful. Now, one of my favourite things, and I've often used to it, I call it the KISS principle. We're all very well aware of the KISS principle. Keep it nice and keep it sweet and simple. The first way to do that with your success plan is to review last year's success plan. You might have a complete new executive, and yes, you're going to write your own plan, but you've got the basis to start something else, or look at what may not have worked in your eyes and model it from there. Now, if you can't get a copy of it, there are ways and means to. There's a lot of people in the district that will help you. There are area directors, there are other clubs in your area, and I'm sure they will help you and source their form of success plan if your club has never even attempted one. I know it sounds strange. There are some clubs that don't even bother. But what you also need to do is start with every role and every level to get that commitment, because we need to get that 100% adoption rate happening. And to do that, we need a strong executive commitment, and the executives to all promise that they themselves will take on pathways. In my home club, we've got 1 or 2 on the executive. They've joined deliberately to get themselves started in pathways. So they've come on board for the executive this year, and that is their goal, to really take on pathways and to champion it themselves. And they're going to be our new adopters, and they're going to help model it for everyone else. So your executive is the key point to that. And when we start at the very top, naturally we start with the president. And anyone who, it's a very simple thing that the president could at each meeting, after they've reviewed the statistics prior to the meeting in conjunction with the VPE or whatever, they can find out who's logged on to TI, who's taken their quiz, who's even challenged and decided on their path already. And at the very beginning of a meeting, congratulate that early adopter, because amazing, that initial recognition, even if it's verbal, can go a long way to getting that cycle started and having the next person take that plunge. Now, if there are no early adopters, the president could just take 1 or 2 minutes out and just focus on one section of a path. It might be the benefits of effective coaching and why they merit, and they may give some pearl of wisdom, some gem that says why that path might be relevant to somebody in their club. The VPE, oh, it's an obvious. We have to train everybody. I say we because I'm a VPE, and there's quite a few of us here today. So we have to train and respond to all the questions and lead those 3 base camp manager jobs, ensuring equality at the same time, because, as I said before, when you've got that core base of the member comes first, no one person can just take the lead and continually be always speaking. You need to have that parity. It needs to have that equality, because the VPE is going to be the one that takes all those complaints from the disgruntled members. Why can't I get a chance speaking? Why don't I get this? It's always that person, and they've gone up a level and another level, and they're not getting anywhere. So everyone's paying their fees, and everyone wants to be seen and heard. At the same time, there are going to be members that have got other things in mind. We've got, at Geelong, we've got other members who are also doing their university courses at the moment. So they've got a few other things on the back burner, and they're going to be a little bit slower in their path. But you're also going to be making sure that you respond quickly to any level changes or requests for acceptance. One other thing, and I will get that in a little bit later, is the mentor program, because that's paramount in making a successful DCP plan as well. The PPR also plays a very important role in the plan, because, as I said, promoting the accolades of the members, and social media is obviously our best friend, and dare I say the millennials love social media and that instant gratification that goes with it. So looking at what you can and can't do with your social media is amazing, because we took an incident that happened at Geelong. A member had his icebreaker, it went on our public page and our private. We asked, some of them don't want it on the public page. He wanted it on the public page. Within 48 hours, we had over 1,000 likes on that one post. It was phenomenal. And from that, we generated a few extra members. It also earned that particular member the gold toasty, we called it, for the year. Not the gold Logie, but we gave him the gold toasty because we felt it merited it. It was an unexpected hit ratio just because of how that particular post came out. So take that opportunity of your members, even if they're small steps, such as an icebreaker. It's amazing who you can draw into your club. The VPM in the success plan needs to make sure that they've got the correct information in their guest kit, of course, but at the same time, not too much, because overkill in an information pack can drive a member away. The secretary, of course, is going to help the VPE, and they'll keep an eye on all the approvals. They may even print off different level completion certificates to help out and help prepare for the president coming for presenting those awards. The Treasurer has a very important role in the DCP plan, because if those fees are not received on time, if those fees are not paid by the due date, the member will be locked out. And Tracy, if your fees are not paid on time to your treasurer and in on the bank, you will not be competing in your contest because you're not going to be considered valid. So it has a big picture. It's not just locking you out of pathways. It can also be locking you out of a contest because you're not going to be considered as a paid member. The Sergeant-at-Arms is the final member in the crew, and an easy way for the Sergeant-at-Arms to really participate in the DCP program and the success of Pathways is for them to be responsible for having a bank of icebreakers and level 1 evaluation forms. It's a lot to take on as a new member. You're learning everything as you go along. You're learning how to operate the system. To remember to bring that evaluation form on your first night, on your icebreaker, or even your second speech, can be really, that's the one thing everyone seems to forget. So what we'll do is we often will have a bank of them there, and they're there ready and handy. We also encourage them to do later, to have their ones coming up later on. So while it's handy for us to feed them in the first instance, we also need to teach them how to fish at the same time and get those things underway. Another thing that one of the Sergeant-at-Arms that I know of in another club takes care of is the A4 generic level completion. So it's just a very quick and easy thing. They're laminated and recycled throughout the club. Now, we've also got a lot of resources, and that can be very, very daunting. So my key thing is to make sure you go to a certified site, obviously Toastmasters International, or in our case, the District 73 website. There are a couple of updates to D73 that still need to take place, but give our tech guys a little bit of time and that'll all be updated. But if you go onto the site, you'll come across the navigator. You will come across all of the variable resources, and you will find it works well for you. Sorry, I just needed to sip my drink. The resources are helpful because you'll be sitting through and you'll guide your new member, but your mentor is going to be the main guide here. And that's, as I said, I'll mention the mentor now, because to me, the mentor's going to be the VPE's best friend at the same time, because they're going to take a lot of that strain off the VPE, as we know, does an awful lot. And the mentor, once they show them all these wonderful resources that are available, can also show them and guide them through the core competencies. And they're all downloadable. But the one thing I love about this particular resource, before anyone even looks at taking their quiz, is they can really investigate it. And to me, this is a vital part of having this as part of your guest pack, as part of your DCP plan. Because this particular resource available on the TI site has a full breakdown of all the electives. And personally, showing someone all the electives in the future levels is their way of really helping them source the plan that they're after and the one that they want to go to. The final level in the DCP is encouraging the warm-up master, the table topics master, and the general members to incorporate it even further at the club level. So with the warm-up, you can have a very quick round robin, and it may just be, what path are you doing? Or what have you found one really quick idea in your path? What project are you working on? Which level are you up to? They can be very quick, frequent, fresh, and it'll keep it alive. Table topics obviously are going to enhance and expand on that, and so that the members will find perhaps their own unique selling point about their path. And then there's the workshops, which we'll have them later on as we get our bigger projects. And that'll help the growth and development of all the members. So as you can see, the options to embedding pathways into your success plan are endless, but it's also up to you as a club and the executive to set the plan. So if you take up those options, I'm sure you'll succeed in embedding it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. Do we have any questions from the group? I haven't received anything on the chat box, so feel free. Okay, I see some questions coming up from Carole. How much of the club success plan would be appropriate to tackle during August with regard to pathways? It's a question for you, Debbie.
To tackle through August. I know we've had our first executive meeting and we set all of those ideas straight away from the get-go. But we're also going to review them in 3 months' time to see how effective they've been at this stage. Does that make sense? Because I suppose it depends on what level you're after. We're building on last year's success plan and we're going to keep adding to it from there. I can't hear you.
Does that answer your question, Carole?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
It partly answers it in that you're saying that you're building on what you've already put in place. And I'm thinking now of new committees and them wanting to put their own stamp in place. Mm-hmm. And the club success plan is huge. You know, when you look at all the facets of it, yes, giving it all to them in one go would be foolish. So I wondered what part of it would be your advice to tackle during the month of August, given that they've just gotten used to being on the committee during July.
Yeah. I think having the executives take over the round robin would be, and maybe the table topics for those first, because most clubs will only have the 2 meetings in a month on average. There are some clubs that meet more regularly. And that would be a great way of helping that come across. So that's reminding people, okay, we've got 3 people doing effective coaching. Oh, what's it doing for you? And getting that conversation started. I think that's the big thing.
Excellent. Thank you, Debbie. Seems to be one more question there, Amit.
Yes, we have got one. Actually, we've got 2 questions on the chat. One from Wendy. She's asking, do you think forward planning for Toastmaster year 2020 should also be in this year's success plan?
It would actually, because without having your subsequent levels as they're growing, you're not going to achieve those higher ones later on. But we don't know whether they're going to change the levels for next year or they're going to change anything once Pathways is fully integrated either. I don't know whether that's a thing too. But I would encourage some sort of growth towards it, yes. Which is what I think most clubs have been doing in the last 12 months, because you're not going to get your level 3s and 4s if you haven't got your 1s and 2s already in place. Does that answer that one?
Wendy, does that answer your question? She says thanks. All right, we have one last question from Liz. How are clubs handling the need for IT equipment at meetings? For example, Wi-Fi, laptop, projectors. Are we getting feedback from clubs that this is a roadblock?
Depends on what you mean by roadblock. We don't use the TI platform during a meeting at the moment, and we're not using Zoom, so it's not a roadblock for us. The roadblock for us with technology is just getting people to use a PowerPoint display or anything like that. We've got the facilities for it, but if it's doing the evaluations live straight into a laptop, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, a little bit. One of my clubs do that, but I was just thinking that it's easier to show people. So if you, like on Monday night at Turak, we have a Pathways session, everyone's bringing their laptop. So it is important to visually walk people through everything. So I guess that was just what I was thinking about. There'll be some clubs that just haven't got the equipment to do that.
Yes, and now I know where you're coming from. We did do that a couple of weeks ago. Some people, we said, bring your laptop or your tablet. And too many of them just wanted to do it on their phone. And it's, as we know, the spatial requirements when you're learning, it is much better on a laptop so you can get a better picture. So it was just encouraging to bring their laptop. So we were fortunate we had enough Wi-Fi and everything for everyone. So.
May I say something there?
Mm-hmm.
Carole from Ballarat. We actually applied last year for a Ballarat community loan, and it was just after our 40th year Toastmaster, and we applied a loan for a computer, printer, scanner, projector, and it totaled just over $4,000, and the council okayed that loan. So we've since bought a computer, and we're lucky enough to be able to use the bowling club projector. And going by what you're just saying about that, our last meeting, we did a Easy Speak tutorial, educational, and that went off really well. Plus, we incorporated that with an evaluation speech by Mike Landry. So we're using those two things to encourage Easy Speak, and that was an instant success with people logging on. Ron Crafter arranged all the login numbers and names, and that looks really good to help people set up their own program of speaking throughout the whole year, and to have their speeches in, plus to use the Easy Speak, and plus we're losing those educationals then to tap into that, like you say, the using computers at the meetings. But the loan was the community grant was very successful. Now we need to spend the money. We sort of need to see what else we can actually use. We bought our own printer to do our own printing, copying, and all that sort of thing to save, because not everybody has got a luxury of doing it at work. So we're sort of looking outside that to make sure we can incorporate it at a club.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great idea, Darryl.
Thanks, Daryl. I don't see any other questions come up, but yes, there was a point made by Ramon saying the biggest roadblock would probably be access to the internet. So that might be a point of consideration there.
If I may, there was a comment that when booking new premises or new venues to always make sure there is internet access granted. The challenge then, for instance, in case of where it is, where we currently are, there isn't. We have been there for a while. So how we are going to address that, that obviously is something we're talking about, but it's something that I suspect many of their clubs may have.
Yes, we're fortunate in that we're right next door to the Geelong West Library, and we hook straight into their Wi-Fi. So.
Okay. All right. If there are no further questions, I would like to give a big thank you to Debbie and do a virtual handshake. And a big round of applause as well. All right.